Tired.
Welcome a short meeting is the land use committee meeting on Monday night, I think, set a record. It went 6 hours.
Somebody put something up about being at a meeting until 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
and they were complaining because they were not part of the committee. Oh, and your hands have been up for hours and you don't get to speak. And I'm like, y'all don't know the difficulties we having with this system. Your hand could be up. They might not see it, or you're circling and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
But we got to use what we got.
That's right.
You know, I say it in every meeting. I hate this system.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah. I mean, people talk about Zoom and other things, but it comes down to the same thing. It really, it's a little better, but I don't know.
I think it's a little better. It's
Yeah.
not 100, but what can you expect? Let me turn
Yeah.
the television off. It is what it is. Listening to my son's television is like he's in a movie theater. So loud. It's loud.
I guess he misses the movie theater.
Yeah, that's true. Him and his friend used to go often.
Yeah. Who's Maureen?
Oh, she knew. Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to listen in.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what this is.
It's the bylaws committee.
I have no idea what any of those words mean. But I love stuff like this.
The bylaws are the rules and regulations that the committee follows.
Okay. Well, that sounds important. I'll just keep listening in and taking notes.
Okay.
I love the pooch.
Oh, thank you.
And his
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. He was a good man. He was a good man.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to mute myself for the moment.
Okay. Oh, man. Where is this? This. Okay. No, I don't want to copy the meeting link.
So there's another meeting planned for the 22nd? Okay.
Trying to get our 3 meetings in. Because, I don't like to meet in the summer. I mean, this is a bylaws committee meeting, and I guess what? We got to meet anyway, because in case somebody wants to change something, but nobody's put any request to change anything, but according to the bylaws, we got to meet X amount of times per year.
Yeah. I have some ideas, just for, like with what came up the other night is with committee, with the full board meeting, the public is allowed to speak. It's in the city charter, et cetera. But with committees, it's left at the discretion of the committee chairs. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like the public should have the same opportunity at every committee, I mean, it can be designated by the committee chair at a certain point, and then cut that off or something, but because at the land use committee, people didn't know if they were going to be able to speak on a topic or not,
No. But I haven't seen a problem with any of the committee chairs letting other folks speak if they're not on the committee.
Yeah.
Hi, Sonia.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties.
I know. It took me a minute to get into.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Good evening, Sonia.
I watched the circle go around and around, and I do my head around and around. Just watch till it decides. Well, there's 3 of us. How many more I need? 4? 2?
5 for a quorum. But
So I need 2 more people.
yeah. But I don't know, if I'm on other committees and if they have a good showing, they just vote as a consensus. They make a consensus recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if we restrict on quorums for committees, nothing would get done,
Well, that's it. Most councils anyway. There has to be a quorum. You can't.
Yeah, I think
just
for the
have 2
full
people.
board, that makes sense. But I don't know, maybe for committees.
Don't we have, like, with the bylaws, can we just discuss it? Is it written in stone, like, just per se? Does it have to be written in stone, or do we, as bylaws, come up with something maybe?
I don't know. Sometimes too,
Addresses?
you have to refer to Robert's Rules of Order to see,
Yeah.
of what stuff you
Steve
cannot
says.
change, or what,
No, but it's like Steve says, it's been really like pulling teeth to a lot of committees, and it's just unfortunate. And again, if it's consensus, if they don't take the time to be present to these committees, why should it hurt, the
Yeah.
business? It's business as usual. We have to start to come up with another solution. Nothing's been working, so we have to reinvent the wheel. Like, hey.
Yeah, you see, Donovan Richards over in Queens, he's the new BP.
Mm-hmm.
He just laid down the law with his CUNY boards. He's making them change their bylaws to be more strict for participation. Yeah. And he's not going to mess around. People are, he's going to kick people off boards if they don't comply. So.
It's all well and good, but you know our history. You know the history with the Community Board 1, and you've known the history when we were trying to get people off that were inactive, and how much it was like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
You saw what happened with a few of them that were just consistent. There was just a chronic absentee, and every time the bylaws acted, remember way back then with Jan and Marty, and then they were like, no, they made them change their mind because specific people that were on that list to be removed.
Yeah.
Came back screaming bloody murder. So, again, if we don't have someone like the board president or even the assembly office gonna help back us up, it's like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. Well, we could, with committees, we could update our own bylaws to be stricter, but then they have to be enforced, and if.
That's the other thing. It has to be enforced.
Yeah.
But then when you take it to the full board too, it has to be adhered to and enforced.
Yeah, and I feel like, last year, the attendance committee sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't say took the year off, but I mean, they've been keeping the tally, but.
Yeah,
you know,
COVID drove everybody crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The COVID, you know,
And I'm gonna tell you something, I don't like meeting like this. Some
But I
people
think-
want to keep it permanently this way. I don't
I mean,
like this meeting on the computer. I can see every now and then, but I'd rather meet in person.
I like it with the sense, because what I went through this year and being a mother of a 16-year-old now, I'm raising my grandson. So
Yeah.
it's helped me there for them with our loss in the family. So it's been comforting that I'm here with them and that they know that I'm here. So for that, that's the only like solace that I take with all this mess. But then again, we have to have business as usual. We have to get back to some kind of normalcy. And in addition to that, just because it feels like the world stopped, no, it hasn't. Like the board hasn't stopped. There's issues that are coming. There's a lot of problems that we need solutions to, and it doesn't help that we don't have the quorums, and then we can't conduct business. And it's so, for me, it's just so frustrating that we can't conduct business. It's like it's sad, but it's a reality.
A lot of the committees having that problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's chronic.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a little better since we've been on WebEx. I feel like it's not as bad as when we're in person.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
A little bit, but
I think it'd be
but
better.
again, I'm on land use and I'm on parks and environmental protection, and we make the votes not as like a quorum vote. We just say we have a consensus this way or that way, just so we can make some sort of recommendation to the board on a particular issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise,
I think you're right, Steve, because if we do that as committee members, then for the quorum would have to be the board members at the general board meeting, because I don't see it being an issue if there's 3 of us and we have to make business and make a decision. That why not decide something and then bring it to the full committee board, and then some of the members will be present anyway and then vote on it.
Right.
It should, this time I agree with different rules for different fools, Sorry.
Yep.
That's cute. I have a Robert's Rules of Order in front of me.
I am trying to get my mind back into whatever is going on, because I can't wrap my head around 100,000 emails we're getting from the community board, and I'm like, oh my God, 100,000, and you just miss some things because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, do you see where we're getting?
Especially when you're on 3 or 4 different committees.
Yeah, well, you see where we're getting 90,000 of them from the governor?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's just overwhelming, because I almost missed this meeting today. I put it on my calendar because I didn't do that before, and I do it and it's easier for me to do it as opposed to in person, because I just put it on the Microsoft thing, the calendar, and it reminds me. If not, I'm lost.
Yeah.
So, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. But I feel like we're getting spammed by our governor. Trying to get us to forget about his troubles.
Yeah, that for me, it's a very sticky subject.
It sure is.
Because I'm just I can't find words for this situation. It just seems to me that I and I love the elected officials. I know some of them, are trying to do their best, but it just seems to me like they're all into some kind of mess. And this COVID got more crazier to everyone involved. We've got to expect more from our elected leaders, and we're not voicing ourselves as we should be. And we're not as involved because it is not a government for the people, by the people. It's stopped being that for 10 years already.
Well, I guess, as far as our bylaws in the election language, I think technically we can still hold our, May and June elections. It's just we have extraneous language that doesn't apply to that.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about. There's the 3 of us here. We can discuss that. We're not voting on anything.
But that's what I asked the last time. Do we have
it's just something we need to discuss and bring forward. But that's why I said, I'm trying to have our 3 meetings and get it over with, because there's really not too much
But
to
that's
discuss
what-
until we just send a letter to Madam Chair about something that wants to be changed.
Yeah.
And of course, it has to go to Madam Chair. What's the matter, Sonia? I can't hear you.
We spoke about it the last time when we made the amendments to the bylaws. I said, is there gonna be an issue for the May nomination of the June? Remember, I don't know if you guys recall in the minutes, but I indicated, are we like good for this upcoming election in May, that we didn't want to change the terms, like we just extended it, but we didn't want to change that the actual elections should be held every June, as in the past, that it was just the exception this time only, but that we were gonna.
Right, that was the wording in the bylaws.
Exactly. And in
Yeah.
addition to that, we were gonna continue to have to do it by voice because we couldn't meet in person.
Right.
But I asked that because I thought, we don't want to continue to have all this trouble. That it would be business as usual in May, the same nominations like we did prior to the COVID.
Yeah.
And that was the reason for having the meeting, so we
Right.
can make sure that that's perfectly clear, that
Right.
in the bylaws, it states for the exception of the 2020,
Right.
business as usual. So I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that we were all clear on that.
Right.
We don't have to have nobody come back and say, oh, but we never.
I guess with the executive committee, we can't hear you, Julia. We can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Yeah, Julie, can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Lost audio.
Uh-oh. So we're not having an issue with that, are we, Steve?
No, as I read it, yeah, we have exception clauses for last year,
Right,
but for everything else going forward, we're okay.
okay,
It's just a matter of if you wanted to just, tidy up the bylaws so they're perfect, it would
Right.
probably be good to get rid of that language, but maybe with just three people, if we have, I don't know, it's, I feel like maybe the bylaws committee is the one committee that should adhere to the quorum, but
yeah, because we have to, because remember, the executive committee would be in a few weeks, and then they have to put in the agenda. The agenda, you have to put in the nominations,
right,
has to be on the agenda, so I think that, Julia, as the chair, you should just send that out, that we are gonna proceed with the nominations for May and then the elections for June.
right,
Because again, we have to send the notices out
Mhm.
for the May meeting, so everybody can know, hey, we're gonna have elections, they have to be sent in time, people know the nominations and stuff, so I think that then we have to do it ASAP and see what we get back from
yeah,
the chair and from whoever in these legal people needs to look at it, so that we have time to, at least if we have to do emergency meeting, that we can just try to get these members to participate in the committee, in our committee.
yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, that's what I would suggest is just, because right now the committee attendance language, it's pretty soft, You have to, if you miss, is it a third? Third of the meetings, but if your committee meets 4 terms, what's a third of 4, I think, and the borough president and their recommend, and the bylaw and the city charter, they recommend 6-month increments of monitoring the committee attendance. And if somebody misses a certain amount of attendance during that period, then, there's grounds for removal, but again, just the.
Removal from the committee? Steve, I'm sorry, remove from the committee, remove from the board, they can have perfect attendance at the whole board, but yet they won't have perfect attendance at the committee. What are the consequences? All it's gonna show is you're no longer on this committee, but they continue to serve on the board.
Yeah, but they have to, per the bylaws, every board member has to serve on one committee. So I think just kicking them off one and then going another one, I think the committee chairs have the power. So they just request someone be removed for attendance problems, or I've never heard of otherwise, but let me just see what our attendance.
But this committee has been pretty good, the bylaws, from what my experience is. I first joined. I mean, I'm new to it, but It had been pretty good. Right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at
Yeah,
Julia. Look at
Yeah, especially like the full board, with full board attendance, at least the year before, I think we were, with those changes, I think they were helping. Two members were finally removed, one resigned. But last year was a pandemic, so I feel,
Yeah. But we can't, like, I mean, that's a reason, but it may explain it, but doesn't excuse it, because now,
it's
like
true.
they say,
Yeah, because you don't have to, in some ways WebEx makes it easier to attend. You don't have to go to risk going to somewhere to expose yourself or someone else.
Yeah, and that's my thought exactly, because
Yeah.
again, it should be easier. I mean, regardless of what they say about the web, with the WebEx, it still works in a sense that we see each other, we hear each other, and it takes the attendance. So I think that there shouldn't be any excuse for people not at least, showing up or just saying, hey, what's going on. So I mean, I can wrap my head around this one this time,
Yeah.
You fixed yet? No? So what are we going to discuss? I saw something in the chat. So what are we going to do? I didn't. Did I see the
One other thing I thought I threw out there is, during the the full board meeting, during the public session where people are speaking, there's not supposed to be interaction between board members and the public. But occasionally the board chair, we need something clarified or to verify something, and she might ask, a pertinent person like, an applicant or something, a question to verify it, or ask like our council member or something. And technically it's out of order, but I know other boards give the power to the board chair at their discretion to ask a question of the presenter, the public speaker, or someone in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so it's something we could put in there, because I know she is needed to do that at times.
Yeah, because it's a free-for-all when it comes to that public session. I've noticed that, and everybody.
Yeah, especially on WebEx. I mean, it's open season, but
yeah, and it's frustrating because, again, with me, when they do have these questions and I have to look and ask these questions, I know that I'm supposed to be the one, like the recording secretary, or just ask those questions, but sometimes it's so difficult for me to just keep up. In addition to that, it's like, oh, she left the meeting, Julia. For me, I just think it's just too much. It's too much of an ask when, they have to be in the public session. And I think by now it's been over close to a year that we've been doing, what like 2 months shy of a year doing this, where people's got to stick to the rules. They have to stick to, you want to say something, you have to sign up to say it. You just can't, because they didn't sign up in time, they're just putting in the chat and they're the public and they need to have something addressed. I don't think it's fair, Steve.
Yeah.
I think people know that this is the opportunity for them to speak, so therefore they have to speak during those public session.
Right.
We agreed to at the board to move it up, because before it was after all the committees made their reports because of the quorum issue we were having with the community board, remember?
Right.
So, and now we decided to bring it back. Okay, people, you're gonna go before, so that way people don't have to hang around so much. But a lot of the issues I'm finding, Steve, it's the board members. It's not the general public. It is us.
Yeah.
It become the problem. And how do we do some damage control, where we respect the time that people have a right to speak? Not waiting to speak at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It's just ridiculous, Steve. One. And board members, if something concerns them regarding anybody's committee, then we should be present at those committees when something really concerns us. And I've noticed that whenever somebody has something that a presenter is saying or something that interests them, that's when they're screaming bloody murder, but they won't attend these committees, even as a guest, even they're part of the board. that they're able to get these answers straight from there.
Yeah.
As opposed to prolonging a meeting where everybody, at the end of the day, regardless of being at home and the comfort of your home, is still exhausting.
Yes.
So, you know, we got to figure out how we're going to come and really have these board members held responsible and accountable. You know, how do we measure it? If you know that people are talking, why are you interrupting them, or why are you doing things that are not, you know, based on what the rules and the policies and procedures for us?
Yeah.
Can you guys see me and hear me?
Can
We
hear
can hear
you.
you now.
Wait a minute. Can
So
you
is
see
that-
me?
I can't see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah.
I think hearing is good. Hearing is good, Julia. Don't mess around. Don't touch anything else. Just hearing.
I'm not touching nothing. I don't even know why it's got you facing my computer. The camera is backwards.
Uh-oh. There's nothing
Oh,
at
there we
all.
go.
There's nothing at all even there.
Yeah. And it says that your video should be on, but we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not seeing it.
So, do we
You
have
see it
that
yet?
power, Steve?
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Jurisdiction?
Do we have the power for what? I missed all of that. I had to
Oh,
go out and come back in on my tablet.
We have been discussing about the people, the public session,
Go to public session.
how some of the board members will interact, and how, you know, questions asked, and it's like a free for all. And sometimes
Public session is crazy.
I'm very serious about what we do, but sometimes I feel like it's a circus. And I hate to
Yeah.
say it because it hurts me to say something, because I know that we're all giving our best and we're all volunteering, and it's a thankless job. However, you know, something that we want to do from the goodness of our hearts and how we serve people, but it becomes a circus. It becomes something that is so shameful. It's ridiculous, because I think that a lot of our board members have to start to become more constrained. They go for tit for tat with the public session people, which is disrespectful. We may not like what they're saying, but they have every right to say it and every right to ask. So
Well, that's been my issue for the longest. I mean, I rant and rave, but my rant and rave is about respect. It's about respecting one another, respecting the chair, respecting the people, respecting each other. But we start going into frenzies, and I'd be like, whoa, hold up.
But that's the thing, that, you know what, that we have to be able to be as adults, because you know what?
Exactly.
Now, if I'm going to be co-chairing because of the question about the WebEx, we talked about it at the training. If I'm going to monitor that and look at people, then people are going to come after me for my blood, because if they disconnect their mic, they want to fight.
But we had a WebEx training, and everybody, we had what, like 9-10 people show up for it? We didn't have that. 19, I think, showed up for the WebEx training.
Yeah, no less than that, Steve, right?
That's horrible.
It was low.
I think that when I was told this before my father.
Well, there's Jan. Hello, Jan.
And I was told before my father's passing that, you know, I would just look at and monitor and then, you know, cut some mics off.
Well, there has to be a way that they can do that to keep the mics off until the person is speaking. But WebEx is not set up that way.
I know. Okay, so Maureen asked the question. What did Maureen ask? Maureen asked, can you mute the chatty ones? I think. Is that now or during the meeting? Is that me or during the
Individuals can be muted, and that has happened.
Didn't say anything yet, by the way.
Cool. Not that she was talking. No, it's talking to me. But I noticed that because, again, when we have the full board meeting, it becomes crazy, Jan, because the public session is for public session. So we have to respect that, and nobody knows. Well, I'm going to say all of us, because we're all in it together. Nobody knows how to draw that line. So why should you, as a board member, if somebody's speaking from the public, why should you go to? Why should you say, "Oh, you lying"? Oh, that's not true. You cannot comment. You have to bite your tongue. Put yourself on mute. You know. How do we get them to do that? Do we have to legally put it like in the bylaws or in the rules? Guys?
That is something, just like we just said before, if we put it in the bylaws, we have to make sure that it would be enforced. It has to be enforced, just like the other topic we were talking about. Things
Yeah, I think
just
if
have to be
the board
enforced.
chair and the committee chair to state the rules at the beginning of the meeting and maybe repeat it just to get it in people's heads. There's a way of doing things, you know.
I think we're saying we want to also have that you can put, they should have a handout. People are never informed, people are not trained. And the fact is you don't go unless you've learned something that I don't know, which is certainly possible. You don't put extra things in your bylaws. They can cause you a lot of trouble later on.
Yeah, we were just discussing it. We weren't saying we were putting it in there. We were just having some discussions about
But I
certain
am,
things.
but I'm going along with Sonia. I'm really very concerned about the fact that people, new people, old people, people are not given the rules. And I don't think, are our bylaws up on the website?
I'm not sure.
I haven't
It
seen
should
it.
be.
I haven't seen it.
So let's just,
They haven't been. I don't know. It was a request recently at an outreach committee
It was
to do
requested
for
that
that.
it be put up there.
so let's just say one is that we can refer it back to the outreach committee, but everybody has to know the bylaws and everybody has to know how we run these meetings. And that's
Yes.
not in the bylaw. We don't have a sheet of paper that says how these meetings that we have are run. And so people are confused that are on the board for years, not only new people. People are
Yeah, look-
confused.
John, I don't want to differ, but I mean, I beg to differ because sometimes it's just plain out just disrespectful. Sometimes
Some
it's
people-
Just saying.
we grown people and you can't keep raising grown folks, but some of them just want to get a tantrum. And
Well,
there's some
I
that
know
just
I'm one of the disrespectful ones, Sonia.
No. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that sense. Because if you tell me, now people are we supposed to be by whatever the computer. During the meeting, we're in the meeting. Some people run to the restroom, some people go outside and they chat. I go outside, take a cigarette. I come back, I don't know what the heck is going on. Then questions that have been asked are answered and they ask the same questions again. I mean, it's just like, and they just prolong it. Like, it's just beating a dead horse, a lot of these issues. Like, why would you do that? Why would you drag something?
Well,
If
could
you-
we, that's also chairing, which is what Steve's saying, but could we at least say that we need to have the bylaws on the website and how the meeting is to be conducted and what are the rules for how you behave in a meeting? That's not in the bylaws, but let's just have the rules of how people can, when they can talk, when they can't talk, all those rules that are there. We don't have them.
That is something that someone should send to Madam Chair and ask her if all possible, if we can have rules of conduct during the meeting. And if so, I guess as a group, not only the bylaws committees, but all committee folks can state X, Y, and Z. Listen, maybe we should have this, that, and the other, and make a list, and then we'll have to vote on those things too.
But I think that's what it is. Everything is voting. But I think that we don't even have like a development for the board members' development. We have staff development in my job. In many jobs, you have to go out to retreat, do a
Well,
staff.
that would be training.
Get this training. And it's something when I came in, I didn't get orientation. I was thrown in
That's
there sworn. Nobody told me what you gotta do when come in front of the chairperson, get sworn in, and nobody says what you gotta do about voting. Movia Viera kept telling me what to do because I didn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
So-
You come into a place, it's a different environment. I mean, I come from settings of making meetings, of making decisions. I serve on my cooperative ownership co-op, but I try to do it like I do it like here, but it's not the same case, you guys,
So can we
I
say
think
that
it's
we're
what-
recommending what you just said?
A
that
mandated
want
training
to-
for everyone, mandated.
And my other question, before we finalize this recommendation, which sounds like a very good one, is that that people want it because people are getting pretty cranky about our meetings. The
Yeah.
issue is, when did the board chair get so much power to decide everything and every minute and every example? I don't understand where that is. do we have in the bylaws a clarity of what the powers of the chair? I would like to see in the bylaws the clarity of what the executive board's powers are, and maybe they're there, and I have to relook
Another
at it.
book. I was given a book, and this and that book. I'm looking for it. I don't know where I put it, but it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's the exec committee, it's pretty general, you know,
Right.
they set the agenda. They can vote on behalf of the board, but then the board has to ratify whatever they decide on at the next full board meeting.
But Dallas takes a lot of powers.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
that
I
book
mean,
is
that's in the
in the
bylaws.
But it's in
And
the bylaw.
Well, that's according to what the bylaws say. The chairperson shall be the chief executive of the office and shall be responsible for the overall conduct of the affairs of the board, call and preside at regular and public hearing meetings and special meetings, appoint and remove chairpeople and members of all standing and special committees unless otherwise specified in the bylaws, carry out all the duties and serve all committees and
Mhm.
boards as prescribed by the city charter. Maybe you
Yeah.
want to read the city charter.
Thank you,
Prepare
Julia.
an annual report at the end of each calendar year, presented to the borough president and city council members or community district responsible, along with the financial secretary, for the administration of funds obtained from sources outside of the city government.
Can I ask you a question? Since these are from the city, right?
Yes.
Does
No,
it
those are our
say-
bylaws. Those are our bylaws.
Oh, those
These
are
are
our
our
bylaws.
bylaws.
Can we compare those bylaws? Can several of us that are into bylaws look at some other people's bylaws? Because that's it, and that looks like that could have been something that went way back to Vinnie Abate, and I can tell you, I was there for all those many years, and I love Vinnie, but he was there forever and ever. We have no term limits. We give unbridled power to the chair. I don't think it's a good thing for them. I don't, if I was Dallas, I would not want to have all that. It's a setup.
But I-
Can we,
but
can I
these-
ask
You
that
know,
this-
we just revised them in
Right.
November of 2020.
really?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we
but-
added in.
Just related to elections, just related to elections.
Right.
No.
During
But I think that
Not through their
the
power.
COVID.
But guys,
Can I recommend that we review the powers of the chair and the executive board? Not now, but that be on our agenda, Julia?
but listen to me,
Yeah,
guys.
sure.
Can I interject a minute? Because I serve on the executive committee.
I know you do.
I
That's
think-
why I'm saying
Let
it.
me- No, but let me explain something. So, yeah, I think that the important thing is that when we have our next meeting, that we should invite every single executive member, including the chair, to sit and we have a full-blown discussion on it in terms of the power and
I
absolute
think
power.
that's where it should go to, the
No,
executive
no, I
committee.
think that you're saying to discuss it first. I think that we
I
should
think
have.
that's
them there.
good. I like it.
Listen,
I
listen.
like what you're saying.
We're having this issue. We think that there's too much absolute power, or whatever our issues are. Lay it on the table, but I think that we can't come up with something and then spring it on the board and everybody like not know what's going on. I don't think that that's right. That whenever we have to address issues with ourselves, we need to invite them. Hey, listen, we're having this serious issue.
Did you hear me? That I said I like that.
Okay, good. So I think, I don't know what
I
you.
wasn't trying to slip it under the table, but I was saying that before we meet, don't you think that
us.
before we meet with the executive board, we should talk to each other?
Absolutely, but I'm saying that us as the bylaws committee, and I
Yeah.
totally agree, you can't have absolute power because it absolutely corrupts, I agree in that terms. I'm not saying because I have a great deal of respect for Madam Chair. And I think it's
Me
because,
too.
like you said, because of the fact that she's giving so much and too much is given, much is expected, right? So
I
we
agree.
need to really alleviate all this because everybody's temper sometimes just flare up or people find it as a personal attack when it's not personal. It's business. We cannot look at things personal because we're here to do a job for our community and who we represent. And the fact that there is no term limit, there is no whatever, but for me, it just seems like we have to discuss it with each other. We have to be more open to communication and we have to let everybody know, call people on it when they're doing something wrong, but within ourselves. And a lot of these public meetings, everybody knows our dirty laundry because we're airing it out in a dirty laundry in public.
I didn't know we had any
We're
dirty laundry.
no, we're laughing stock. We have to be able to say, hey, all the board members, executive, everybody, all included. We're gonna have this retreat. We're gonna have a day of just developing ourselves to working out and seeing where our issues lie, how we can resolve it, troubleshoot. I think it's important. We owe that to ourselves to be more productive, to be more united, to be more in tune with, we don't have to agree. We don't have to conform to each other's view, but that respect has to come first. And we just, some of us lost it,
So,
there are people in our community board lost it.
Sonia and Maureen, is this being taped? And are notes
Yes.
being taken?
Yes.
No, she's saying no. Why not?
Why isn't it being recorded?
It says recording in progress on my
Yeah,
side.
It's being recorded.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see the
Okay.
red dot. It's being
I'm
recorded.
not, I'm just sitting here. I thought you meant like, am I recording it for?
Oh, no. I just
No,
want,
no,
I
it has
thought
to be
you,
recorded.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so just, I think that when we discuss these things again, everybody involved, everybody concerned, whoever it affects, we've got to learn how to open up those.
Okay, here we go with the amendments. Proposed amendments by these bylaws should be submitted in writing to the chair and referred to the bylaws committee. And that's what I was just saying. The bylaws committee shall report to the board at the next regular meeting of, that would be the process. But before you make any amendments, you propose it to the chair and she will refer it back to the bylaws, to the bylaws committee. So
I think that.
I understand what you're saying in regards to having the meetings. I suggest someone writes to the Madam Chair and state that this is what they want to do, because that topic to me sounds like not just a bylaws committee, that would be all committees that would, oh God, I have another 8 o'clock meeting, I'm sorry, and I'm being texted. That everybody should be in on that, not just the bylaws committee, to say we want to change X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah,
we
but
want to
first we
have
have-
rules and regulations on how to conduct the meeting and what are the proper mannerism at a meeting. And that's what all my yelling and screaming is about all the time.
now, did you hear yourself, Julia? Did
Well,
you hear yourself?
They brought this up and I let them know that's
Did
what my
you hear
yelling and
yourself?
screaming is
That You're
always
saying
about.
you're yelling and screaming.
I think
Well-
it isn't. It's a reflection of us, people. At the end of the day.
And it's like Sonia said, we're
But you're gonna
grown
have
people.
angry-
Why do we, go through all of that?
Yeah, we're gonna have
Doesn't make
angry
sense.
residents, community residents. They're gonna have an issue and they don't understand Tom's way of doing things or the ULIP committee, whatever, because what Tom, and I feel for him because Tom works his butt off. The fact that he says if we say no, they're still gonna get their license, et cetera, they're still gonna sell liquor, but at least with
Because
us,
they
they
go
have
to the
station, there's
they go
rules.
to the liquor license
But
organization.
It just seems like we rubber stamp half of the things that go on because they're still gonna go on, people. In reality, we have to look at what we're really doing because to me, it just seems that way. Everything we say, everything we do is like rubber stamping it after the fact. It just doesn't seem like it's a joke. You understand?
Are we
I
now,
hear you, Steve.
can we summarize now what
Steve,
I
Steve,
think
you're
our
muted.
intent?
Steve, you're muted. Steve, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you. Sonia, I don't agree with that. I'm on land use committee the other night. We met till 12:30, 6 hours.
Right.
Meticulously going through one controversial issue or another, hearing the public, the whole 9 yards. Parks, we've had some very contentious issues. We go through it and we make very methodical decisions. We just
I
don't.
know that's what I'm saying,
boom.
that you
Yeah.
do, that people are gonna scream out there, the residents, and I was gonna agree what you're saying, the community resident, that you
Well,
guys
this
work
is
your
what I was
butt off.
talking about in my last meeting also. When you have an agenda, why do you keep going left field and stick to your agenda to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G instead
No,
of going from A to
I
Z?
know, but that's
and
not
then
my
you gotta
point.
come back in the middle, in between, to fix what happened at A.
No, my point is, let's say you guys agree that there's a time sensitive issue.
That's what I'm saying with Steve with the land use
Yeah,
committee. I
but-
understand you get.
No, I know you guys work hard. I'm not saying
sidetracked.
that. What I'm saying is that the community residents, they don't understand the method that we use, or they think we're just mad.
So Sonia
don't-
and Julia and
Yeah.
Steve, I think we're saying, and that makes some sense, that we want to review, it's not all bylaw stuff. We want to review how the board is
That's what I'm just
functioning.
saying.
And that's what you're both saying, that we should make recommendations to the chair and the executive board that we want to do a thorough review on how well we're functioning and not functioning and get everybody involved. Is that what
Yeah,
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Right,
we have to meet
and that's it, because we could sit here, as you just said, we, 4 of us could have 5 of us could have some very different opinions. And I know in the background, there's other people there, right? That we could have some very different opinions and spend a lot of time when we just need to kind of start the ball rolling, get and bring it to the chair and the executive board and start this review. Now on bylaws, that's another thing. We're saying that these things affect the bylaws, but they are not all the bylaws, which is what you're saying, Julia. Right? So the bylaws are that we need to review the powers, certainly of the executive board and of the chair. Or sure, if we only have one person in our whole group that has any power, which is what it sounds like, I think that's a pretty serious question. Is that it? We only have one person? Jerry's on this phone, one person that decides everything, and the board doesn't have any power either? What?
No, that's not what I understand.
I think, I mean, what
Does the
mechanism,
board have power?
that's what I'm saying, what mechanism does the board itself have to kind of keep the executive committee and the chair, I wouldn't say in check, but just, just.
The check and balance. You're talking about a check and
Yeah.
balance system. What's the check and balance?
Yeah, I hate to bring up a can of worms. I hate to be a can of worms, but I don't know what else. But the whole SUV thing is that,
Right.
the bylaws are, what was legal or illegal, whatever, but our bylaws, if they were followed about notifying the board of their actions, then we could have potentially avoided that whole fiasco.
But it wasn't the previous meeting, Stephen. I record, it was in the previous meeting, and I record as the recording secretary. It was. People choose to listen and other people do not choose to listen. I recall because it was in my meeting, and I record as the recording secretary, it was brought to the general board.
And that was my big argument. Everybody at that time was yakking. It went above your head.
And I don't want to go back there because even Emily Gallagher.
Yeah, let's start with that one. Jan, I want to move forward and just.
But wait a minute. Even in my notes, recorded that Emily Gallagher has suggested that we get some kind of light snack for the board members. I write everything down. I mean, I have all that stuff.
We don't meet in person. How are we going to get snacks?
So I think that sometimes we have to take it very seriously. Sometimes we have to give the respect. If it's a very serious issue that we have to listen, people. Okay, sometimes you got to go to the restroom. Sometimes, but if something's going to be brought up, we have to be more diligent. We have to be more careful. We have to be able to say, look at the agenda, see what's going to be discussed. People cannot just go around willy-nilly and not think that it's a meeting. It's a meeting being held, for God's sake.
I love you to death, but anytime, and I do it all my time myself, anytime anybody says you have to, nobody's going to do it.
I know, but
it's not in the minutes. If it was in the minutes,
so many
the minutes are our number one thing to prove that it's said.
Right, that's a good point. And then, so last year,
it's just minutes. It's not the whole thing that's being recorded. In addition, what I'm saying to you is, we have a responsibility. It's about ethics. It's about what we promise to do. We have to do a job, and we have to take it serious, whether or not we're being paid. And I'm sorry, a lot of the board members are not. It's self-serving, self-centered,
self-serving. Sonia, you're hitting every point that I've been trying to make since I got on this.
I'm glad that the two of you like each other tonight.
Yeah. Come on.
Every point I've been trying to make since I got on here. This is not about you. It's about serving the community.
I was a housing director for 20 years, Jan. You know that. I was working housing and management and director, and I will never will I serve on the youth committee. Sorry, Steve. Because that was a nightmare for me. It brings me back, so I would never serve there.
Wow.
There are certain committees that I just cannot see myself serving. It's not the liquor license, but because I know.
The license is tough.
Well,
I
that's
believe-
good. That's good. So where you'll best contribute,
yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
people should take that responsibility and know.
Exactly.
And they only have to be on one committee. That's the requirement. They don't have to be on two or
Yes,
three or four.
yes.
They just do
Thank
the
you,
one.
Steve. You know, you're absolutely, that's what I'm trying to say, people. You know,
Yeah.
that's my point. Sorry, I talk a lot, but I'm just
It's
excited.
okay. You're saying everything I wanted to say.
So,
And you're putting it in better terms.
okay, so what are we now saying? We said the first.
Jan, I want to give you a catch up before we go back to what we're talking about. Before you came on, we were just discussing elections because that's what we're supposed to be discussing. And of
Okay,
course,
thank
we
you.
went to-
I'm sorry, Julia.
It's all right. We went.
I was
other
late because the
places.
truck was bringing me a big thing of dirt, and he
We
came early.
didn't have we didn't have a quorum, so we were discussing other items. But we did discuss basically the election, and the wording in the bylaws basically says we go back to the way the election should be. But I got a question, guys.
Yes.
I lost the lens in my glasses, so forgive me.
What's the question?
The question, during the election, again, we still can't do paper ballots, so we will stick with voice. That's what the bylaws says, state, right?
Yeah,
Can
because
somebody read for me?
we can't meet in person to do the ballot, so we have to continue with the voice.
We will continue with the voice, and we don't have any volunteers to count ballots, so
Julia,
I guess
can we? So
proceed.
you can tell me if I'm totally off the
Go ahead.
ball, which is usual, is that I was very concerned for the first time, actually. Generally, we have an election where people vote in confidence.
In confidence.
And I got to see exactly why we did at this last election. Because there were people that said things and did things that I would question. And I don't know, Steve, you were a candidate. Did you feel that that should have been a confidential election? It would have made it different or not?
Just point of information, all of our votes have always been public. There has never been a confidential election.
Okay. But we.
All of the votes are recorded in the minutes.
That's true. But
And that's under the public officers law. That has nothing to do with our bylaws.
can I ask you a question on that, Jerry?
Sure.
And I appreciate your knowledge on these things, but what I remembered, because I have been one of the people counting and I was on that elections thing, is that when the election was taking place, it was private. People did their ballot.
It was via paper ballot that was
And then-
counted in the back room and then laid out, recorded in the next month's minutes, in that month's minutes.
Right.
They
So
also be
eventually
printed out.
anybody could find out
The
who.
law department has ruled out the use of the paper ballot, and they've advised us that the vote has to be taken in public view.
And why is that?
That's what the law department said. I don't know why that is.
They
That's
say
what
why?
they're telling
We're
us.
public, we're community board, we're public. There's nothing private.
I
about it.
understand it's public.
The
but
suggestion
I-
using an online polling tool, a third-party polling tool, a person would vote online. At the Parliamentary Society, we went there, they recommended a few third-party software where you could do that.
I'm just saying is that I felt this time, and we're all saying what we have to say, right? One is people
Yeah.
are, the only time you know if we're really operating at a good level is where people actually can say what they want to say and not feel greatly discomforted. And I felt that this was a very discomforting thing because I don't know, people were really ratcheting it up, who was voting for who and how and what, and I don't know, I felt very uncomfortable, and I would rather see us relook at this whole thing. And before I wanted it public, so you can, if you tracked me over the years, normally I wanted it public because I thought people should know who supports who. But this last time, I didn't feel that that's, I don't know, it just felt very uncomfortable.
Well, being that we're meeting this way, and we went over these bylaws together on how the voting should be
Right.
done, which would
Yeah.
be verbally and reading it now, voting and during that we would do it verbally. How would you get a ballot? I mean, we were talking even with the presidential election. If you send out a ballot to somebody else, who's to say that person voted for that person? Who wrote in the ballot? Who did this? Who did that? So the in-person, for me, I could care less because I don't, I'm for myself. I'm like, don't care what people think or care about how I voted. Others might feel different.
Yeah,
But if
if
you
you have
want to
term
change
limits,
it,
right.
if you want to change it, then that means we're going to be changing the bylaws, and we got an election coming right now. And I don't think this is a good time to be trying to switch it. The election is in June.
What, our election for our board?
Yep, that's what we're talking about. Upcoming
Remember-
election.
Remember,
Really?
interim for me, we had suggested that we continue to just write out the term and then do it like the bylaws had originally had when the terms began and with usual nomination, and just to get consistency, have some continuity. That's what we decided, even though we had that election, it was only gonna serve till May.
Right. And that we will go back to the regular voting.
Yeah.
Serve till June, Sonia. And then
I'm sorry.
May
So
nominations,
we have
June
the
election.
elections, Yeah.
June elections.
So we're
And
having
we're going to
elections
go-
in a month. Jerry, last question. Because I see if there were term limits, I would look at this open or closed ballot differently. The fact that there's no term limits and you can be, and we are not allowing people confidentiality, which is very hard when you all know each other, frankly. But my question to you, Jerry, didn't we vote by the city of New York that people could only stay on the board for so long? What happened to that?
Pandemic.
From what I understand, the Brooklyn Borough President made a statement Tuesday night at the Borough Board that just kicks in this year for term limits for community board members.
It's just in general, it's just.
So it didn't die, but it's lurking around somewhere.
No, it
It's there,
becomes
it's there.
effective now.
Okay.
It becomes effective yeah.
It's effective because it doesn't say by a certain position or.
Which
executive
means that
committee. It
all
says-
of us start the length of time we can be on it right now.
That's what the statement was made Tuesday night at the Borough Board.
Okay.
It's 8 years, right? If I remember correctly.
I couldn't hear you.
I'll be
8
honest with you,
years.
Steve, I'm not sure.
Hey, yeah,
So
that's
can
what-
we-
that's what would-
Can you, Jerry, just make sure we all get that, because that helps us look at these bylaws and stuff. We have to know what we all voted on in the city and when this is all taking place.
But that's the thing, that they send us 1,000 emails, but we have to look because I saw it in
Gotta read 'em.
even when they first
Right.
introduced it. And it was adapted, but they didn't say when it was gonna take effect, but I know for a fact it was adapted that we were gonna have our term limits for the community board members.
So people are going to come into this meeting next week and we're going to announce that nominations are now open and people are going to nominate at the May meeting.
Nominations will be open at the May meeting
Right.
at 8 p.m. That'll be on the agenda for the May
Right.
meeting notice.
But we
Yeah,
should announce it at the April meeting that this will
Yes.
take place in May. That's all I said.
That's it.
Sure.
And that's all we're gonna do basically. And that's why I said, let's have a meeting. So everybody that's on the bylaws committee would understand the fact that we're going to go according to the bylaws that we set up ourselves, except for our June 2020 meeting, whatever it was, and the voting in January 2021, that everything after that,
but that's
we
when I have
basically
issues, guys.
revert.
I have issues that because when we introduced the bylaws and the amendments, that was said at that meeting.
it was
It
set.
was said that it was just gonna be only for this time, and then it was read,
One
and Julia
time.
read it, and
Said.
people are just not taking notes, and people are not reading, and people are not getting involved, and people are just with the excuse, I didn't know. Ignorance is no excuse anymore, people. All these things it's been transparency. Yes, that was a mix-up. Yes, we screwed up, whatever the band, they're gonna keep beating us over the head with it. But no, we're trying to be more transparent, and at least for me, I push for that because I think it's important as a group that we work together because you're all a bunch of great people. I respect you all. I love you all.
Great, intelligent.
Yeah, human beings, but you articulate, and I see that with them. But whatever floats their boat. Well, I didn't know. How do you not know? You served on this committee. I've been there for long enough to know that people were there before me. People get it together.
Thank you, Sonia. Everything I've been saying for the last 3 years. But anyhow, I have a second meeting. We discussed certain things. We didn't vote on anything. We really didn't need to vote on anything. It was just for information. So we can get it out to the full board that it's time for election. It's time for nominations. We're going to meet again on the 22nd because I'm trying to get our meetings in. And
April?
yes, ma'am.
Well, there's still time to meet in the fall too, if you want to,
Well, yeah, we can meet in the fall and discuss some of the things that we want to change.
I'm
We
not
can do that. 'Cause like I said, I don't like meeting in the
I'm
summer.
not available. I'm not available April 22nd.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. It's important. I have to show.
If
Like
nothing's
better, I'm
pressing,
available and she's not. So now you
that
can get
means-
rid of Sonia.
You getting
No,
me?
we don't get rid of Sonia.
Listen, Linda. I'm gonna try this. It's just that I have
Now
to
you
do
found
something.
each other. I would hate to do that now that you're both in love.
Can you make it at 6:30?
Yes, ma'am.
6:30
you,
for you
Steve?
guys?
yeah, but are we going to have anything to talk about? I mean,
Are we going to talk about the powers of the chair?
going to keep this
Or
going?
not?
Okay.
I think that, wait a minute, people. I think that we have to look and make sure that the legal part of it is looked at and what can be done before we just go rushing up and making discussions. I think that, Jerry, who is the law peoples? Jerry, you there?
Well, yeah, Steve Goulden at the Law Department is our go-to person, but he's not the type of person to have a regular conversation with. He's the type of person that you frame the question you have, you send it to him, and then it's hurry up and wait for the answer. And
I
usually
see.
I have to go through the mayor's office to try to prompt him to send us an answer.
I know because
Okay.
we
Well, can we get that done, Jerry?
I'm
Can we
sorry,
ask
you guys are stepping all over each other. I didn't hear what you said, Julia.
I'm sorry. Is there a way we could get that done?
Get what done?
That you have to go through all these people and all these channels to talk to this person? and
No,
blah,
he's
blah,
our
blah?
go-to, but he's the one that we write to, but unfortunately, he's probably handling 59 community boards when you send him an issue. May I suggest, maybe you want to look at some of the bylaws of some of the other community boards and see if, you know,
Yeah, that's what Steve had suggested, right?
Yeah.
So we should do
Well,
that.
you know what?
before-
Like I said, I have another meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe
so
that's
we're gonna-
something we could table for the next meeting and I could put that on the agenda.
Yes, okay, so we're adjourning?
Are you guys okay with that? Where did
Right,
Steve
yes.
go?
You do
I'm still here.
bylaws, Jerry. I think that would be good. Bye.
Dag, bye, Jan.
We adjourned?
I thought you said you were adjourning.
Somebody make a motion to
I
adjourn.
made a motion, Sonia.
I'm gonna
made a motion.
meet you in Cooper Park, Julia.
Yeah, come on, I'm here. Guys, I will see y'all next week at 6:30.
Guys,
Okay.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
stay safe, guys.
You
Bye.
too.
Thanks.
Oh, how